Well, hello there everyone, my name is Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome to Crafty Reads, the series where I craft something and we talk about the last 5 books that I've read. I'm currently working on a top. I'm busy vlogging it for a summer crochet video. It's that pattern that I showed you the last time, but I've just got a little bit further in the top. So that's what I'm going to be crafting. Subscribe if you want to see how this comes out. Let's get into the books. The first book I read was Dear Justice by Nick Stone, and this is a sequel to Dear Martin, which I really enjoyed. And it's about living as black men in society, especially black men growing up in poverty and needing to get out of that place, but like how the world is not set up for them. And the two main protagonists of this are Justyce, who we saw in the last book, who's just started his university life, and Quan. Quan is the cousin of Justyce's best friend. You need to read Dear Martin to understand what happened with that friend and everything like that. But Quan got caught up in gang life when he was young, and it describes a little bit of how he got involved in it and things like that, because it's such an inevitability in certain instances, especially when you're looking for protection and also looking for community. So he gets involved in some stuff and then he gets jailed, and he knows he didn't do it, and he's writing letters to Justyce, who's studying law, and Justyce is trying to help him out because they don't think that he did the crime that he's got arrested for, and it was a crime against a white police officer. It's really beautifully written. It really focuses on really important social aspects that we need to be doing work on for in the future, especially in America with the way the police system is set up. It's a YA, but it's really got a lot of heart, and I feel like even if you're a adult reader exclusively, I think this is a very easy YA to get into. If you want some really good stuff, Nick Stone is a beautiful writer, and she's not scared of talking about the hard shit, and I really appreciate that. Then I read Falling Angels by Tracy Chevalier. This is a historical fiction set in the UK. It's in London, and there's these two families who gather at the graves of their families who happen to be next door to one another in the cemetery on the day that some queen has died. It's like 1901. So I don't know exactly which queen that is. I don't care that much about royals to know such things. But we've got these two main children, Maud and Livia, and they sort of become friends because they realize, because of their meeting in the cemetery, and then they end up being actual neighbors living next door to one another. So they start up this friendship, and we start to see life progressing over the next few years. We get a couple of different points of view, which really shows all the moving parts to the story and how it's going to climax and how we got to the certain events that ended up impacting the book quite greatly. This book has stuff about miscarriage in it. It's got stuff about the death of a child, and it's got one of the mothers getting very involved in the suffragettes. So that was a very, very interesting aspect of it. So it's just these families intertwining with one another and certain events happening over their lifetime that I can't really say anything. They just, things are forever drawn back to the cemetery. The kids love to go play there. They make friends with one of the groundskeeper's sons, and they spend a lot of time at the cemetery. And so much of the book sort of begins and ends at that cemetery. And it was just really well written. Tracy Chevalier, that name is so hard. Why is it so hard to say? Tracy Chevalier is a wonderful writer, and I love historical fiction, so this was right up my alley. Then I read Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, and what a dumpster fire of a book. Oh my god. So I just decided to read this because I wanted a fun thriller. That's like, I use Everand for that because it's like the types of books that I don't know if I'm going to like, so I don't know whether I should spend my money on it, but I can get it through my Everand subscription, so I'm just going to do that. So we're following our main character Lux, who has a boyfriend called Nico, and he owns a yacht. And he's sort of like been putting off trying to fix it. They've been on Maui. She's been working as waitress. You know, she's running away from a hard time at home where her mom has just passed away and she doesn't really have a dad. And they're in Maui, and these two girls find Nico, and they say that they want to go to this famous deserted island, and they want to spend 2 weeks there as part of their holiday, and they'll pay for him to charter the yacht to get to this island. So that's what they do. Lux goes with them, and when they get there, there's already a boat there with some people who wanted to do exactly the same thing, and they kind of get along and they start drinking together and all of that kind of thing. The characters are very shallowly written. I didn't really feel connected to any of the characters in this book. Even though we got some throwbacks to find out like more information about these characters before they ended up on this island. And then deaths start to happen, and that's where the plot holes begin, because there's just so many things that are either just super convenient or just very expected and lame. And I didn't enjoy it at all. I thought the twists were really convoluted. It wasn't fun, because you expect like a deserted island book, you're going to have some fun, there's going to be some entertainment in this, but it was actually just so boring and then really annoying at the same time. So yeah, I'm not going to read Rachel Hawkins thrillers anymore, just not for me. Then I read Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield, and I love the 13th tale. So when I saw this had come out, I was like, I need this on my radar, and I found it at a secondhand bookstore in Tunbridge in the south of England, where my mom used to live, and I got this at a secondhand bookstore. I couldn't believe it was there for like such a cheap price. It was amazing. So Once Upon a River starts in the pub of this small town that's like further up the north of the Thames, so not like in London type of Thames, like more close to Oxford, that kind of area. And so we're in this small inn, and a man comes like barging through the door, and you can tell that he's severely injured, and he's holding the body of a dead child, like a little girl. And so they call the nurse, who like looks after the like medical needs of this small town. I'm not sure exactly when it's set, but it is old. And they put the child to the side because like the nurse feels like she's not breathing, she doesn't have a pulse, her eyes are dilated, she's definitely not alive. So they pay attention to the man and try to like sew him up and tend to his wounds and everything. And then the child comes to life again, and they're like, what the fuck? And there just so happened to have been multiple people who lost a child around that time or like a few years before, but so this child's about 4. But there's 3 different people who are laying claim to the fact that this is their child that they lost so many times, so many years ago or whatever. And it creates some tension within the town. And we're getting a lot of different perspectives, so we really get to see like the psyche of the town and how this event is progressing. And this inn that we start in is known for being a storyteller inn. If you want to go and drink a pint and hear some stories, this is the pub you're going to be at. So we really get a very thorough description of this entire event and how the finding of this child and this child coming back to life like has changed everything. And the man that they pull from the river ends up being a photographer who really wants to get involved with the town and everything like that, and him and the nurse like start a really great friendship. For the life of me, I can't remember her name. That's terrible. But it's just a wonderfully written historical fiction. It surprised me. It just had it had great pacing. It was like, I don't like stuff to be super slow, but I don't like stuff to be super fast at the same time. I really like a medium-paced novel, and this was really well written, and the way that it ended was a little spooky, which I kind of liked. So yes, highly recommend Once Upon a River. And then lastly, I read The Crane Husband by Kelly Barnhill, and only after reading this book did I find out that this is a retelling of a fairy tale called The Crane Wife, and it answered a lot of questions, because I was wondering, like, where the hell did she come up with the idea of the story? So we're following our two main characters, two little kids. The big sister is basically looking after her daughter, looking after her brother, and then her mom is an artist, and she's very flighty. You know, she can sort of disappear into her own world for a while, and she leaves her eldest daughter. I don't know if she's actually named. I did look and I couldn't find any specific name. They just said a 15-year-old girl. But the first scene is her mother coming home, and she's brought a crane, like a really, really big crane that's taller than her mother, and she's brought it home as like a date. Like, this is going to be her new lover, this crane. And he's tall, and he's wearing a hat, and he's wearing shoes, even though his nails like poke through. It's very strange. It's very strange. I would be interested to read the original fairy tale, because this was set in contemporary times, so it's not even like, doesn't even give fairy tale vibes. It's so freaking strange. And their mother starts behaving even more erratically with this crane. She's focused very much on this crane, who seems to be harming her, because like, he has a really sharp beak and talons, and he ends up hurting her multiple times. So she is sort of in an abusive relationship with this crane, which is freaking wild to say. And the daughter from the very beginning does not trust this crane in the slightest, which makes total sense. And she is just she's kind of sick of the state of that her life is in right now, because her mother tends to take on lovers and then abandon her children. In this instance, she's spending more and more time in her art studio. She's not even buying food for the kids. She's not even doing the side hustle, which is making cheese from the milk that they get from their sheep. She just isn't paying any attention to the fact that her daughter is not going to school, because she's been parentified, and she has to look after her brother, and that's her main priority in life, which is so intense for one so young. But it's weird and wonderful. It ends in a very interesting way. And it was a very short one, so like, it doesn't drag out the whole, because I think like a very big book that's this sort of fairy tale like with a personified crane. I don't know how I would have reacted to that, but I actually really enjoyed reading something just plain old weird. And there you have it. Those are the last 5 books that I've read. I've already read 4 more since filming this got a little bit delayed, so I will have another Crafty Reads up very, very soon. I have started, I'm going to be starting to work like more hours at work, so I'll be doing more driving, which means I'll be able to read more books while I drive back and forth. And because it's been quite quiet, I found that I can get ebooks through Libby, and I haven't been able to read an ebook before because they give me migraines, but on Libby it's like a grey background with a lighter grey text, and it doesn't hurt my head. So I'm going to be starting to read on the sly when I go full time. So hopefully I'll be able to absorb all of these wonderful books that I've been needing to get my little grubby paws on. But other than that, if you liked any of these books, let me know. I'd love to hear what your opinions of them were. And my TikTok and my Instagram are down below, along with my Shopify, which is my to buy my crochet creations from. And my Kofi link, which is a one-time tip jar if you ever want to support my channel. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll check you next time.